Hello, welcome to Purpose in the Enneagram Class 3 with Robert Holden. If you have any issues today, look on you try viewing it on YouTube by hitting the green button on your screen. And with that, let's welcome Robert Holden.
Thank you, Jack. Good day to you. Good day, everybody. And welcome to our third class on purpose and the Enneagram. And change of scene for me this time. I'm here in Findhorn in the north east of Scotland. This is a wonderful, wonderful eco community, spiritual community, created 60 years ago. And I know it was 60 years ago because this year is the 60th birthday of the Findhorn Foundation. And I'm here actually as part of the celebration of this particular community. Caroline and I have presented here many times over the years. Caroline has gone on record and said it's one of her favorite places on the planet. And yeah, it's great to be here, and I hope you can feel some Findhorn energy coming your way, some light and love beaming directly to you. So here we are in our third class, and here we're going to be visiting point 2 on the Enneagram. And we will be meditating in particular on what helps you to connect to your sense of purpose. And I want to just emphasize that word connection. What helps you to connect to a sense of purpose? We will also be looking at the personality type 2, the Ennea type 2, sometimes called the helper and the giver. We're going to be looking at a particular myth, big story that sits really, really well here at point 2. Also, some of the archetypes that have an influence on us here, in particular, the Samaritan and the servant, and also the healer. And these are all from Caroline's wonderful archetype card deck. And also in her book on archetypes, actually, one of the archetypes she focuses on is the caregiver. So this is really all the home of 2. We're also going to be doing a couple of practices to support you in honoring your spiritual charism. And one of the reasons why a lot of us find it difficult to find our charism is because we don't honor the charism. And what is a charism? That is the spiritual gift, the soul gift that you have been given to share with the world. Okay, so a charism isn't something that you have to make up by yourself. You have been given it to share with the world. How about that? And yeah, so it's all a very exciting time. Caroline is traveling today. And so Caroline won't join us live, but she will be adding her spiritual direction to this class. And then Caroline is very much back again live with us on our next class, class 4. So let's begin with a centering practice. And when I was thinking about what I might share with you today, I eventually landed on a poem by Mary Oliver called The Journey. And I would like you just to take a few moments to receive the spiritual teaching and the spiritual invitation of this poem. Yeah. So let's begin just by taking a few nice deep breaths together. And as we consciously focus on our breath, let's use the breath to help us firstly be really grounded in our body, to really be in our body actually, and all of our body, not just a bit of our body, but like the whole thing, you know, We don't need to live in just one room in the house, like the head room or the heart room. We could start in the belly room, if you like. We could start in the body. So let's put our presence into our whole body. And often that just helps to calm the nervous system down a little bit, which is really nice. Then let's just make contact with our heart. And then let's also just, again, place our awareness just for now on our breathing, so we become nice and still in the mind. Think of the in-breath as a symbol of our willingness to receive. Every in-breath, a chance to receive in life. And the out-breath is a symbol of our willingness just to let it out freely, to give it away freely, to share everything that we experience with the world freely. So let's take one more deep breath in to receive, breathing out, releasing, letting go, and also just sharing with the world. That feels good. Mary Oliver, The Journey. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, and though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you don't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. Determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. This is The Journey by Mary Oliver. What is the only life that you can save? Who is that? Whose life are we talking about here? Here's the invitation, isn't it, for us to consider whose life we're trying to save. Who's saving who in this world? All right, let's take a little look at our Enneagram symbol. Thank you, Jack. Just so that we get a sense of where we are in our journey. And you can see we're really almost at 2 o'clock, you might say, on the clock. And we are very much looking at the theme today of service. And in particular, servant leadership. Have you heard that phrase before? Servant leadership. We're going to talk about that. And also, again, this is the home very much of Enneagram Type 2. Everybody has a relationship to point 2 on the Enneagram. Your personality may be an Ennea Type 2, or you may have a 2-wing. And that would be so if you're an Enneagram Type 1 or an Enneagram Type 3. You also have a line of growth to 2. You can see that there's a line that goes from 2 to 4 and also from 2 to 8. That is significant if you are a 4 or an 8. And of course, you may have family and friends who have an Ennea Type 2 personality. And remember, when we're using this language, we're not typing people, we are typing their style. We're typing the operating system of their ego, the way they function in the world, healthy and unhealthy. Yeah. So basically put, you have the whole of the Enneagram in you, and this is relevant to everybody. Thank you, Jack. So let's look at the names that are commonly given to Enneagram type 2s, and those names are the helper, the giver, the carer, the altruist, the servant, the martyr. The life outlook of a type 2 is very much orientated towards connection, relatedness, and a sense of reaching out to others. And how do we reach out to others? We do that mostly at point 2 by giving and serving. And so the social role is very much that of the helper or the giver. We want to make some sort of a contribution to our life. We are often very service-minded. We really enjoy being here to help. Yeah? I am here to help. And my driver, if you like, is to be helpful and to be useful, actually. I want to be useful. When we tune into the healthy side of 2, which is when we're conscious and awake and connected, yeah, we're really connected to our divine inheritance. We're connected to our spiritual lineage. We're connected to the historical line of our family story in a really cool way. Well, then we often show up wholehearted, warm, dutiful, positive, yeah, and ready to be of help and to love people. We're very heart-centered at 2. We're like sunshine. We're warm. We're sunny. We have a positive disposition. We're very relationship orientated. Life is all about we and not just me. At type 2, type 2s are the people who will ask you, how are you? And they actually want an answer from you. And as I say, they're very, very service minded. And it is a joy to be able to help, care, rescue, and serve. One of the archetypes for sure that we would look at is that archetype of the servant. The hero is that of the savior, someone who saves the day. Think about that for a moment. Imagine being somebody who saves the day, especially in the world right now. Imagine how you could save the day in your family today. Imagine how you could save the day in your community today. What act of kindness could you offer? Yeah, your smile, your kindness, your presence, your courtesy, your willingness to reach out and connect with somebody. All of that might be the way you could save the day for somebody today. Yeah, just when they thought they were going to have another awful day, or even just an average day on planet Earth, you actually saved the day for them by doing something wonderful. And if you happen to notice, you felt pretty good about it, and it was good for you too. All right, let's take a look at one of the myths that sits very well at point 2, myth or story, or on this occasion, I'm actually going to share a parable with you. And it is the parable of the Good Samaritan. And I think most of us will have been taught something about this in our schooling. The Good Samaritan comes from the Gospel of Luke, which is one of the synoptic Gospels. And Luke is we don't know very much about Luke, but we know he is the main speaker in the Gospel of Luke, and also in the Acts of the Apostles. So both of those books. He's a physician, and some people refer to Luke's Gospel as the physician's Gospel or the Savior's Gospel, because he talks about healing often in many of his stories, and helping and serving. You may have noticed that many hospitals are named after Luke. You'll have a sort of St. Luke's Hospital, dotted around in most cities. So he is often considered the physician's saint, if you like. And in the Gospel of Luke, he is talking to a Roman, which is quite interesting. And here's one of the stories. This story, the Good Samaritan, is actually a response that Jesus gives when he's asked to clarify his great commandment to us, and in particular the bit of the great commandment which is to love your neighbor as yourself. So this is Luke 10:29. Jesus says this. I begin actually with the question. The question is, and who is my neighbor? Love your neighbor as yourself. And the question is, and who is my neighbor? And Jesus replied, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now, by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, which are coins, essentially, or currency, and gave them to the innkeeper. And he said, take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend. Which of these 3, asks Jesus, do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The one who showed him mercy. Jesus said to this person, go and do likewise then. Go and do likewise. So, parables are full of levels of meaning. Maybe the first level of meaning here is that a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. So Jerusalem, this road, why even name 2 places in a story? Jerusalem is considered really at this point in time heaven's base on earth. So somebody is going down from heaven to Jericho. Where is Jericho? Jericho at that point was a very, very worldly town, and was in some disrepute, if you like, not a great neighborhood. And so this person was walking from heaven, was descending from heaven into earth, if you like, from heaven consciousness of Jerusalem to earth consciousness of Jericho. And along the way, he is, he comes across robbers who strip him and beat him. Now, first and foremost, a priest sees what's happening and walks by. Why does a priest do that? A priest does that because in these times, a priest was not really allowed to get in touch with worldly things. They were meant to be otherworldly. Also, actually, at this time, if a priest touched a body that was dying or was dead, that was considered unclean. So there were some superstitions at the time, and so the priest couldn't really afford to have his status in the church possibly be diminished by touching a body that was dying or that was actually dead. So this tells us that the priesthood at the time were not really in touch with real life. They were meditating on the mountaintop, but they weren't really doing anything in the valley. And clearly Jesus it doesn't think too much of that. Then along comes a Levite from the tribe of Levi, a religious tribe from which the priest comes from. They are considered the scholars and teachers of the scriptures. They're esteemed people in the community at this time, actually more esteemed actually than the priest. And but they work mostly as scholars and are not that practical, quite frankly, and have no training or encouragement to get their hands dirty. So he also, rather, the Levite walks past. So then we have the Samaritan. Now, what's quite important to know here is that the Samaritans were not well thought of at this time. They were down the pecking order in society for all sorts of historical reasons. But they were not considered to be as pure as some of the other people in the neighborhood. So, Jesus is picking somebody now who's not that well thought of in the world. And yet he becomes clearly the hero of the story. And his helping as well is a wholesome sort of helping. He's not just saying a prayer for this person. That would be one thing to do, to say a prayer, but he's not going to just do that. He's also really helping in a very, very practical way, isn't he? He actually bandages his wounds. So he gets stuck in. He puts him on his own animal. He pays the innkeeper and even says, to the innkeeper, well, whatever you need, I'm going to pay you. And this is a very practical sort of love, isn't it? And very hands-on and very embodied and very, very real, an example of incarnational spirituality, you might say, getting stuck in and really, really helping and serving. And so this is the Samaritan. And the Samaritan is somebody who is everybody. And it's got nothing to do with status at all. And it's a story that touches a lot of us. And for some of us, as soon as we hear it, we know this story is going to affect our life somehow. And that we're going to want to somehow be like that Samaritan and do something good for the world. And even though, the priest and the Levite have status and everything else, there's something incredibly noble and good and loving and caring about the Samaritan who just drops everything and wants to help. The Samaritan is coming from his heart, and type 2s are heart types. 2s, 3s, and 4s on the Enneagram are called heart types. Why are they called heart types? It's really because all of us are asked to come from our heart in life. When 2, 3s, and 4s come from their heart, they shine in a very, very noticeable way in the Enneagram. But also when they are disconnected from their heart, and one of the ways how 2s get disconnected from their heart is by over-giving and over-helping and actually experiencing some sort of a burnout, then, that we run into trouble because of our disconnection with our heart. So this is the Samaritans. I thought I'd also just tell you about servant leadership today. I do a lot of teaching in leadership, and when I'm teaching leadership in the Enneagram, I always like to talk about servant leadership. In fact, since our last class, I've been working with an international team who are very much doing very, very good work in the world, especially with ecology and with the climate crisis. And there are several people on that team who are type 2 on the Enneagram. And servant leadership is one of the most wholesome and heart-centered leadership models I think that we have on the planet. I think most of us recognize that leadership needs a bit of a shake-up. For too long, leadership has been too selfish, quite frankly, too hierarchical, whereas servant leadership doesn't have the leader at the top of a pyramid or even at the bottom of a pyramid. The leader in servant leadership is at the center of the circle, and they are basically at the center point of the circle, and they are radiating their love, their wisdom out to the circle of the team. Robert Greenleaf was the creator of servant leadership. He wrote a very small pamphlet on it, and he was very much inspired, by the way, by the Good Samaritan. And here's some quotes from Robert Greenleaf. He says, "Good leaders must first become good servants." If you're going to be a leader, it's not all about power for yourself. It's actually about how can you empower others. Robert says, "The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve and to serve first. Leadership," he says, "must first and foremost meet the needs of others." And he says it begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first, and then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. So it's a wonderful model of leadership. And it's often a question I will ask people when I am coaching them in leadership is, who could you be serving? Truly at this time, who could you be serving? I think it's also nice to mention here at point 2, the work of Desmond Tutu and the spirit of Ubuntu. And the spirit of Ubuntu is a Zulu philosophy which essentially works with the principle that I am because we are. I am who I am because of who we are. And really, if you slowed everything down and you thought about how you arrive at being an I, you would understand that you can only be an I in the context of a we. If the we isn't there, you can't be an I. So this I that seems separate from everybody else is actually, it exists because it's in relationship to something else. So I am because we are. And there is a greeting in the philosophy of Ubuntu, which has 2 parts to it. The first part is this: I am here to be seen. And the response is, and I see you. I am here to be seen, and I see you. 2 people doing that together, that's pretty powerful, especially if it's done with heart. I'm here to be seen, and I see you. We bring each other into existence by seeing each other. One of the great gifts that we have at 2 is our capacity to see people's giftedness, actually. Scotland is a Celtic culture, which is very relationship orientated. Ireland is another Celtic culture. And I'm thinking now of, in particular, when I think of Ireland, I'm thinking of John O'Donoghue's wonderful work with Anam Cara. Anam Cara means to be a soul friend to the world, to take our place in the circle of belonging. Think of the Enneagram as a circle of belonging, and being a soul friend to each other. In the Bodhisattva tradition, the work is to be a friend to the whole world. The Maitreya, the future Buddha, is a friend to the whole world. The Dalai Lama said, and I quote, "Our prime purpose in life is to help others." So this is the spirit of point 2 on the Enneagram, and you will find all of this to be, I think, just something that appeals to all of us, of course, but it's particular to type 2s on the Enneagram. Let's look at some of the challenges that we have to address here at point 2, and also that type 2s have to address. And to do that, we must always begin with the separation, the sense of separateness that we experience in our childhood. The sense of separateness, normally it happens around the age of 3, when we begin to get a sense of I, and we may even use the word I for the first time, and we begin to realize that we're not just an extension of our mother's energy. We're no longer feel like we're fully bonded to her physical body, her etheric body, her astral body. We have a sense that there is this gap between us, and that is disturbing, not least because it raises the possibility of a loss of connection. This sense of separateness is humanity's wound, and it is a wound that affects us in different ways. Firstly, the fall from grace that we have convinced ourselves actually happened, and also the sense of separateness from nature. Thomas Berry calls that radical discontinuity. He says that our greatest challenge that humans are facing is our radical discontinuity from nature. So we have a disconnect from heaven, a disconnect from nature, and actually we then turn that in on ourselves, and we have a disconnect even from our own heart, from our own soul. And all of this disconnection leads to a sense of deficiency, and the deficiency at point 2 is a loss of connection and the fear that my needs cannot be met by the society that I am in, the environment that I am in, the culture that I am in. And that, of course, starts with the family. So my basic fear is that I'm helpless, that there is no help, and maybe even that there is no love and that there is no God. And with all of that not here, well, what do I do? Well, one thing I could do is just shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and disappear into nothing. Another way I could do it is expand, 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 and deliver something that I think isn't here. So in this case, it's, well, what if I take on the role of being a helper? What if the very thing that isn't here is the thing that somehow I am called to do? So I will be a helper, and I will do what I can to help my mum, help my dad. In fact, I've noticed that when I'm helping them, I feel really connected to them. I also get some really good feedback from them. They seem to love it when they're helped by me. They're so grateful, and I really feel their positive regard for me. I can also improve my performance by being a low maintenance child who doesn't have any needs of my own. That frees me up to be a really available helper, because if I don't have any needs, I can be helping 24/7. Yeah. And I can just, call upon extra resources because I'm not using up any life force for me. I'm not using up any battery power for my own needs. So I can divert all my power and attention to everyone else. So that's really, really cool. And I'm so good at this, it soon becomes my role. So it's how I show up. Hi, I'm the helper. Hi, I'm the giver. Hi, I'm the carer. At school, we have friendships, which we're very happy about probably, but actually we do notice every now and then that they're a little bit they're lopsided, they're a bit unbalanced, in the sense that most of the time we're paying attention to my friends' problems and how I can help them. And in fact, I'm a little concerned that if I was to share any of my problems, any of my sadness, any of my difficulties with my friends, that might change the dynamic in our friendship, and I wouldn't want to lose the friendship. So it's probably best that I don't talk about how I'm feeling today, and I'll just be a good and helpful and caring friend. That may well then continue into our relationships, our romances, and also into our work. And so in this sense, we become a giver. There's nothing wrong or unhealthy about giving or helping or caring. I'm sure you appreciate that. The problem here is that it's become a role, and roles do tend to cause problems. So one of the first blocks we have to really experiencing our purpose in the world at 2 is this: we are over-identified with the role of helper, giver, and carer. We assign ourselves this role in every constellation, and because of that, we think it's all got to come from us. All of the help's got to come from us. All of the giving's got to come from us. All of the caring's got to come from us. And you can see where that's going to end up. You know, we're going to be absolutely, it's going to lead to burnout. We are doing God's work in the world. We're doing God's work in the world without asking for God's help. And at some point, that is going to cause a really big problem for us. And our work, as we will see, ultimately is to become an instrument for help and forgiving. If we are so over-identified with the role of helper, carer, and giver, we start to think we know what helping is in every situation, what giving is in every situation, what caring is in every situation. You see, at some point, in order to be really a great helper in the world, we have to turn our desire to be of help into a prayer. We've got to be able to pray on it first before we offer the help we're going to offer. And if we don't have a prayer life, and if we don't recognize our lineage that we are serving and that is supporting us, if we don't realize any of that, then we will be misled in what helping and giving and caring really is. And we won't always help in the best way possible. And our helping will result in us often ending up in sacrifice. Another difficulty we have with living our purpose here is that it's the fixation at 2, which is the disturbance in our psychology and our outlook, which is that our whole focus is on other people. And so we are leaving ourselves out of the equation. My purpose is all about you. My work is all about you, apparently. And that leaves us out. And it can't be true either. So when my work and my purpose is all about you, it's like, well, I'm going to try and help you. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to coach you something. I'm going to help you with your purpose. I'm going to help you to grow. But of course, the point is, at some point is, well, what about you? Yeah. Who's helping you? Who's serving you? Who's saving you? And also, you know, this is so one-sided that you're the helper. You can see, you can feel it. It's not in integrity. You know, for something to be truly balanced, to be mathematically sound, there has to be some equal give and take in any system. So when our work is all about the other person and it's not about us, we really lose touch with ourselves, and we have very little idea often what's really going on for us. Yeah. And I thought I'd share a story with you. This was at a point in my life where I was very, very low. I had separated from my first wife, which was very, very painful. We both of us had a very strong sense that we were meant to walk in another direction. Both of us, different directions in our life. It was a very painful time. We weren't in a fight. It was a strange experience, really, but our guidance was very, very clear and persistently clear that it really was time for us to take our life in different directions. I was coping as well as I could, and at that time I was asked to give a talk at the National Conference for the Samaritans, and so I showed up to give a talk to 1,000 Samaritans, and I'd thought carefully about my talk and what I was going to say to them. And when I got there, and I saw 1,000 Samaritans sort of sitting in rows in this hall, I suddenly had the realization that it wasn't that I was just there for them, it was that they were there for me. 1,000 Samaritans. I mean, 1,000 really good, heart-centered, lovely people who go out of their way to help people who are going through their dark night. That's 1,000 really, really amazing people. And, when you put 1,000 Samaritans in a room, there's an energy that is really obvious. And I remember just suddenly this energy just hit me, this kindness, this love in the room. And it melted me. And I immediately rang my mum. And I said to my mum, I said, "Mum, I just need to speak to you, because I just, I'm here giving this talk to 1,000 Samaritans. And I've just realized, I heard God say to me, Robert, you're in trouble, and we just needed to send you some help. And the only way we thought we could get you some help is if we got you to give a talk to 1,000 Samaritans, because your schedule's so busy, you're working so hard, in an effort to get through your grief, but you've not experienced your grief, and you need help." And I saw all of this flash before me, and it was like, wow, it's so big. I thought, oh my God, you've organized, my spiritual team has organized for me to hang out with 1,000 Samaritans tonight. Wow, I really needed that, didn't I? Yeah, but I didn't show up that way. I showed up in my role as the teacher, the helper, the giver, the one who's going to give the keynote and even pick up a fee for it, for goodness sake. But once I got there and I saw what was happening, it was like, wow, I've got to let this love in, because I really need help. Yeah, I'm lost. I don't know what my life is. I don't know where it's going now. I'm in grief. I'm not sure what my next step is. I need some saving. I need some help. And it was odd, because I'm not used to being the one who's going to be saved. Yeah. Earlier today, Holly, my wife, my second wife, Holly and I were teaching our Everyday Miracles community, and we always make a point of saying something about the prayer circle, and we always say, put your name into the prayer circle if you wish. Sometimes you can do the holding, and sometimes you need to be held, and that's what we do in our Everyday Miracles community. Yeah. So yeah, if we're too fixated on our role, and if we make our work only about everyone else, we're going to miss out on all of the opportunities to be helped and looked after and loved and supported, which we need. And if we're not careful, we're going to end up very much in the role of martyr, being the martyr. and we will martyr ourselves, and thereby we will not live our purpose properly. When we become a martyr, nobody wins. The lose-win approach is unsustainable, and lose-win is really lose-lose. Yeah. So we have to be really, really careful that we don't fall into a martyr role in trying to live our purpose. And yeah, it's really, really important that we understand that. So one of the fears that we have actually about living our purpose is that one of my fears of living my purpose is that I will be called to be a martyr. That is one of the sort of the most dominant myths that we have in our cultures. To live your purpose is to be a martyr. So let's unpack that for a little moment here. And I'm going to break it down into healthy sacrifice and unhealthy sacrifice. And so let's start with healthy sacrifice. Let's start with this. If I'm going to live my purpose more, what do I need to sacrifice in a good way? So this is healthy sacrifice. The question is, and this is what I want you to write down in your journal, if I am going to live my purpose even more, if I'm going to give myself to my purpose even more, what do I have to sacrifice in a good way? And so we're embracing the idea of sacrifice. I'm not saying to you, no, you don't have to sacrifice anything to live your purpose. I'm not saying that. I'm actually starting with, no, let's sacrifice something. Let's sacrifice something if we're going to live our purpose. So if I'm going to live my purpose even more and give myself to my purpose even more, what do I have to sacrifice in a good way? So let's have a think about that for a minute. What might you have to sacrifice in a good way? At type 1, I would say, remember we looked at people pleasing. So I think one of the things we would sacrifice is seeking the good opinion of other people. Would we be willing to do that? Because we're going to have to if we're going to truly live our purpose. Type 2, in order to live our purpose even more, give myself even more to my purpose, one of the things I might have to sacrifice in a good way is not overgiving to the point that I get burnt out the whole time. So to the point of burnout. Yeah. Type 3, if I'm going to live my purpose even more and give myself to my purpose even more, one of the things I'm going to have to sacrifice is my fear of being criticized for not doing a good enough job. Yeah. Something like that. Or maybe my social status. Yeah, that's a good one. So sometimes when people do something to really live their purpose, they leave a really well-paid job. Or they leave a certain position in the company to do something. I once worked with somebody who was offered a really good leadership position in their company, and it just didn't feel right. They lost all sense of aliveness when they thought about it. That it wasn't in their heart, and basically my work was encouraging them to make an authentic decision, not based on the metrics of the company or social status of the company, but more on what their heart wanted them to do. At type 4, if I'm going to live my purpose even more and give myself to my purpose even more, what do I have to sacrifice in a good way? What might that be? 4. What do you think, everybody? Well, sometimes at 4, we say, well, before I can really live my purpose, I've got to I've got to be healed. Yeah, I've got to be completely healed before I can actually and be a whole person before I can live my purpose. So let's sacrifice that idea. Yeah, let's let that one go. Yeah. Type 5, let's sacrifice the idea that I have to know everything. Yeah. Type 6, what do I have to sacrifice? Maybe what I could let go of is simply just the fear of getting something wrong. Yeah, like there's no guarantees in life. We all fall. Well, we'll get up and we'll dust ourselves down and we'll get going again. Type 7. Type 7? What do I need to sacrifice in order to really live my purpose and to really feel my purpose? Well, this could be maybe narrowing down your choices a bit. You know, one of the things we do at 7 is we often like to multitask and have lots of things going on at the same time. I remember once working with somebody at type 7 who they began by saying, I think they said, look, I've got 8 business projects right now. I'm pretty convinced each and every one of them is going to make $1 million. And I just need some help in how to manage that. And I said to him in his very first session, I said, I don't think any of these projects are going to make $1 million, because and if you thought they were going to make $1 million, you'd focus on one of them, not 8 of them. I think you're hedge betting. I think you're scared. You don't know which one's going to really help you make $1 million. And anyway, why do you even need to make $1 million? Let's look at the project that feels like the most fun, the one that really helps you feel like you're following your joy. And let's commit to that one, and let's see where we go from there. This was really painful for him, but all credit to him. I actually gave him 2. I said, look, you can focus on 2, not 8 or 10 or whatever it was. I thought to give him 2 because I know that at 7 we like choices. So he had 2. Anyway, he did that. He worked on one of those projects eventually, the one he loved the most. It had something to do with tennis, which was a game that he loves. And as far as I know, he's even made his first $1 million. So he's done very well. So the sacrifice there is just that sacrifice of lots of projects for one project, not overdoing it again. Type 8, what do I need to sacrifice? My independence. You're not going to be able to fill your purpose up if you are trying to do it all by yourself. You're going to have to give up your independence for something even greater. It's called interdependence. We'll get into that. And then type 9, what are we going to sacrifice in order to live our purpose? Our comfort zone. We're going to have to come out of our comfort zone every now and then. Yeah. Because you're not going to fulfill your purpose inside your comfort zone. So you've got to do it that way. All right, that was just a quick run around the Enneagram. I hope that makes sense. So these are some of the challenges that we face. Martyrdom belongs to everybody. We mustn't sacrifice ourselves for our purpose. There is no need to do that. But you do have to sacrifice what is unhealthy for what is real. And you will always be asked to sacrifice something for your purpose. But it will be like, for example, sacrificing a good job, a well-paid job, for something even greater. That doesn't mean you're being asked to sacrifice money, by the way. I will tell you, and I'm sure Caroline will as well, over and over again, you know, I've made decisions over the years where I have initially made less money because of the decision that I was making, but that didn't mean that by the end of the year or so, I wasn't making the same money I'd made before. It was just the money was rerouted, and it came to me in a delightful and surprising way. That happened to me recently. I turned down a very well paid contract, and I turned it down And within less than a few days, a new contract appeared from somewhere else, which was so much more joyful, so much more exciting. It came out of nowhere, and it was like, wow, great. Thank you very much. That's it. All right, let's get into one of the main inquiries here at point 2, which is the inquiry for everybody. And the inquiry really is, what is my gift? What is my gift that I have been given to give to the world? I'm making a note of that for us, okay? What is the gift that I have been given to give to the world? Take a moment. Now at point 2 on the Enneagram, because we're so other orientated and because our attention is so often orientated towards other people, initially we like draw a blank right here. Because now, it's like we're pointing the finger at us and it's like, wow, I'm out of practice. I don't normally do it that way around. I normally tell people about the gift they've come to give them. So let's pause for a minute. Let's pay attention to ourselves. What is the gift that I've come to give the world? What is the gift that I've been given to give to the world? Caroline loves to talk about the charism. And the charism, the technical meaning of it is a spiritual gift or talent granted by God to the recipient, not primarily for his own sake, but for the benefit of others. So we are asked to cultivate the charism so as to give it to others. You must cultivate it before you give it away. In a way, you could say you have to be the gift. Yeah, that's good. You have to be the gift before you can give it away. Yeah. So this gift is, well, what is that? And how can you express it even more? You may need to ask somebody to help you with this. Yeah. Because a lot of us, we have blind spots on our own sense of giftedness. But I want to emphasize, just like Caroline mentioned in the very first class, when we're talking about purpose and gift, we're not just talking about what you do. We're talking more about who you are and how you do it. Okay, it's more like that. But let me give you a chance right now just to do a bit of journaling. Okay. So I want you just to think for a moment about, how do I show up in the world and give my gift to the world and give my gift to the people that I love and the people I work with? That's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about it like this. Think about your presence. How is your presence a gift to people? So I'd like you just to repeat this or complete this sentence. One way my presence is a gift to others is. My friend Deborah Egerton, who I mentioned in the last class, the author of No Justice, No Peace, Type 1 on the Enneagram, this great Enneagram book on social justice and anti-racism. She likes to describe the Enneagram types as 9 energies. So you can also do this. You can say, like, one way my energy is a gift to others is. Yeah. One way my energy is a gift to others. Sometimes, it might be that you have a calming presence, or people feel safe around you, or people feel they can confide in you. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. People feel like affirmed by you. Somehow you bring out the best in others. You help people, feel at peace and at ease. Just notice, pay attention, notice your energy and how you truly, truly help people. How your presence is empowering the people. How you have a healing touch. Think about it that way. Your energy, your presence. That's what I want you to focus on. And this isn't something that you, this energy, this presence has you. It comes through you. It's not you doing it all, yeah? It's not like you came up with this idea all by yourself. Yeah. So think about it like that. And also I would say, another way to look at it, really, really getting to the heart of the matter, is how do you express your love? So when it comes to really living your purpose, just ask yourself, how do I express my love? One way I like to express my love is Okay, get a good idea with this? So these are some great practices for you to focus on. And a lot of times, as I say, when people say, I can't find my purpose, what they're really saying is I'm not paying attention to my life. I'm paying attention to everybody else's life. I'm not paying attention to my life. And I'm not honoring my life. So that's how I turn it around, yeah? So, because when somebody says, I can't find my purpose, I mean, well, how long have you been looking for? And also, where have you been looking? Then you've got to, pay attention to yourself, and you've also got to really, really make sure that you are honoring your energy, honoring your presence, and getting a sense of how your presence affects other people. And in particular, at 2, it's all going to be about when you're coming from your heart. And that's really, really important. So it's a really big deal. So I've got one more inquiry for you today to consider. And this is a pretty important one as well. So every year I run a Success Intelligence Mastermind program. And it's for a small group, normally about 16 people. And we work together for 6 months. And in those 6 months, the people in the group are appointed coaching sessions with each other. The idea is that what we're going to do together in community will be much, much stronger than what we try to do by ourselves. So a mastermind is first and foremost a community. And it's really all about the power of we rather than just me. And what we find over and over again in the mastermind journey is that we are capable of so much more when we get help. And on the mastermind, I issue everybody with a virtual help card. So it's posted to your inbox. It's got your name on it, and it's your own help card. And the idea is that you can post this in the online community whenever you need help. So each person is encouraged to post their help card in our online forum when they have a specific need or request. And interestingly, everybody loves this idea of the help card, but not everybody uses their help card. Why not? I mean, they're on a mastermind. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Well, one reason is that it's countercultural for a lot of us who have been raised in individualistic cultures where the emphasis is always on self-reliance. So some of us need help with asking for help. Another reason is that we have this role, which is for all about the others rather than about the others and ourselves. Yeah. So I've definitely had to work with this over the years. I was very much the giver, even though I'm not a type 2, but I do have a 2 wing because my Enneagram is a type 3. But I was very much about what I can do for others rather than what I could do for, what can someone do for me? I've found it difficult to ask for help. I'm a person who's learning to receive better as life goes by. I've been an overgiver for sure. And I think because I'm on that journey, it means so much to me to run masterminds and be helped by other people along the way too, and to do this help card thing. Once we get the hang of the help card, it becomes one of the best things in the whole of the mastermind. And the thing I love the most is even after the mastermind's finished, it's only 6 months, but everybody stays in touch. And I often just see help cards flying around from people after the mastermind's gone by for some sort of help. And I love that when that happens. So, the question you need to ask yourself if you're really going to live a life of purpose is, who can help me with my purpose? Who can help me with my soul gift? Really, it's like, who helps the helper? In my book, Shift Happens, I wrote a book called Shift Happens. And there's a chapter in Shift Happens called, If You Are Alive, You Need Help. And it's vital that we're willing to give up some of that independence so as to let ourselves be helped. As you know, I've just finished writing its Higher Purpose, which is now published. And right at the end of writing a book, one of the things that an author will often do is write an acknowledgements page. And I've got an acknowledgements page here, which actually goes on for 5 pages. And I love writing the acknowledgements page in a book because although the book appears only with my name on it, the point is that actually when you write a book, you don't write it by yourself. There are so many people that help you along the way. And I love writing up the acknowledgements page. And I also love trying to write it in an interesting way so that people would want to read the acknowledgements page as well. So I like to call people out and give thanks, but also explain why I'm offering my thanks as well. But actually, that's one of the most lovely things to do as an author. Is to be able to get your acknowledgements page down. So it's the same with purpose. You need an acknowledgements page, and you need to write down who are the people that are helping you live your purpose. For example, do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a hero? This might be someone you never even meet, but do you have a hero? Ernest Hemingway helps me to write my books. I never met him, of course, but he helps me to write my books. His advice for writers is so cool, and I find so helpful. Who's on your spiritual team? Do you know who's on your spiritual team? You need to know. Who is on your spiritual team? What lineage are you serving? Need to know that. Yeah, so you can recognize Mother Mary when she shows up. So you can recognize Archangel Michael when she shows up. For example, this last weekend I took Deborah Egerton and her husband Jean to St. Paul's Cathedral. And we were there to see a particular picture, Holman Hunt's Light of the World. We didn't get to it because it had been taken down for refurbishing. So we managed to go into one of the side chapels, St. Michael's Chapel. And when we got there, we all felt St. Michael's energy. It was amazing. And we all left that place changed, for sure. Who's your lineage? Yeah. Make sure you know what your lineage is and let your lineage support you as you serve it. I'm going to read to you something from Higher Purpose. This is from Maya Angelou. When Maya Angelou gave a masterclass for the Oprah Winfrey Show, she told us that our life's purpose is to be a blessing to each other and to be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. She sang a couple of lines from a gospel song, God Put a Rainbow in the Sky, which is inspired by Genesis 9:13. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And then she told us of another way she finds the courage to do her work and live her purpose. And this is what Maya said to us. One of the things I do when I stand up on a stage, when I stand up to translate, when I go to teach my classes, when I go to direct a movie, I bring everyone who has ever been kind to me with me. Black, white, Asian, Spanish speaking, Native American, gay, straight, everybody. And I say, come with me. I'm going on the stage. Come with me. I need you now. Long dead, you see. So I don't ever feel I have no help. I've had rainbows in my clouds. And the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's clouds. To fulfill your purpose, you need to honor your needs. You need to know what you need and be open to support. And think about it. Why wouldn't life want to support you with you living your purpose? Because isn't the whole purpose of a purpose that your purpose is going to support the world? So it's reciprocal, isn't it? Your purpose is your gift to the world. So why wouldn't the world want to help you express your gift, offer your gift? Remember, your purpose doesn't just belong to you. It's a shared purpose. It's part of a universal purpose. So, it takes a certain humility to know that you're not the only giver, you're not the only helper, and that you're going to need a lot of help along the way. And actually that you're going to need to be saved so that you can save. Yeah. Let me say that again. You are going to need to be saved so that you can save. And you're also going to need to be helped so that you can help. And you're going to need to be given to in order to truly be able to give to others. In the early Christian days, after Christ's life, God was often described as or called the giver. So we're not the giver. The giver is God. And our work is to be a conduit for that giving and to send that giving out to everybody else everywhere. So, this is the work. Who can help me with my purpose? And it's important that you let yourself be helped, because that's how we get connected. That's how we start to operate with the oneness. And that's how we start to share some gifts with the whole of the world in a really, really cool way. So this is a very powerful class again. I hope you can see that it doesn't it's not just of interest to the to the type 2s in the Enneagram. It's of interest to all of us. Yeah, it's really a joy to share this class with you right now. So thank you so much. Caroline will be joining us live for the next class, but she's also going to post on this class as well soon. But for now, I'd love just to wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for participating in this class together. It's a joy to do this work with you. And yeah, let's get into the homework. I'm going to post a film on which will do a summary of the class. So that might be a good prompt for doing a bit of journaling, really thinking about your soul gift, really thinking about also who can help you express your gift and live your purpose. Thank you, everybody. God bless. Lots of love.